I mean, they're still alive, but they're retired.
Okay.
So and
But where do they live? You said the place earlier on, right?
no, they live in Paderborn.
Okay.
So but I was born in Braunschweig.
Yes, because I remember you talking about Braunschweig.
I was born in Braunschweig. I was raised in Paderborn. Then I was going back for coincidence to Braunschweig for studying.
Yeah.
And from there on went to Wolfsburg. Started working in Wolfsburg, and then I eventually then moved to Berlin.
Okay.
So that's.
But sorry, you studied in Braunschweig.
Yeah, School of Art.
Okay. But they stopped the course now?
Like they launched car design, and let's say the year before me, there was a golden little age, like out of maybe 3-4 years, which were a lot of guys are in the car industries from there. But after that, it kind of deceased, and they closed the transportation and they closed the whole product design. To be honest, I don't know what is the actual state now.
But is there more than one school there? Because
there's one design school, let's say like that. There's a School of Arts, Braunschweig,
yes.
Hochschule für Bildende Künste.
Okay.
And there's a normal TU, but there's not another design-related thing. I think there's one in Wolfsburg where you can do something like graphic design or something, but I'm not sure.
But there were a couple of recent graduates from that course, right?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, like there's some guys, and it's kind of.
But it's not officially car design. They just
anymore.
Do car
and the point is anyway that it's you have to, let's say, be found by somebody, like somebody. I mean, that's how we do it. Sometimes when we go to school and just look for talents and just pick them and then raise them in your habitat. I think that's way more. That's the way I was kind of educated there as well. They got me really early from school. I did an internship, and then I did my master or diploma. Didn't really well, it's a funny story anyway, but we don't talk about that story here because I get still, let's say, bullied for it in a funny way. But yeah, even before I finished my degree, I got my first contract already. So, and then from there on, I just directly started working.
Can you tell me exactly how that happened? How did you connect with them before your degree was over?
Basically I was, as I said, I was interning at VW, and then I started with my master work or diploma, and basically I just fit.
Okay.
I really fit, and then my chief Thomas already made clear that I can stay before I finished even, and that was kind of cool.
And your internship you got from just applying? Did you know somebody in the studio?
As I said, like before, we were in Braunschweig. Was a nice school. At that time, I really didn't know about car design. Like I was always the guy who liked drawing. And I was originally wanting to do graphic design.
Okay.
Because I didn't know what a product designer does. And in school, like when you see my portfolio for the school now, basically it's a 100% product design. I put even a Beetle in it,
Right.
But without knowing that there's really this job of a car designer. Because at when I finished school 2000, the internet was not as it is today, and you could not just and I've never heard of Pforzheim before, for example. So in my first year I just applied for graphic design. I was kind of rejected with a letter. Yeah, you don't have any arty skills, something like this. This was a bit of a nightmare. Then the next year, we kind of, with a friend, Malte Hammerbeck, who's working at Volvo at this moment, he's also from Paderborn. We were together going around and just doing the schooling, like looking at schools, going to the, interviews, like talking about what is good for a mappe, what is a mappe in English?
Not a portfolio.
Portfolio. But what to put in your portfolio and stuff. And then the next year I got a lot of, Zusagen? What's that in English?
Zusagen, class?
Acceptances. I got a lot of acceptances, and last minute I chose Braunschweig because I liked the product design department there. I really liked the facilities they had at that time. And my chief, I was working in the meantime in the graphic design studio. He was like, yeah, Janko, just do the product, because graphic is kind of what you already know. Yeah, I mean, you're not finished, of course, studying it, but you kind of know it. So this one would be more of a challenge. And to be honest, I'm still thankful that I did this, because there at school I was meeting guys. I saw the guys who were doing the car design sketches, and I was like, fuck, this is cool. I want to sketch like that.
Yeah.
And that was never about the cars for me in the first place. It was about the nice sketch, like a bit of a weird twist or take. But yeah, and then we were always sitting at night in the school. Like I got some friends there, of course, and like-minded people, and we're just Saturday evening was just buying a crate of beer or a six-pack of beer, going to school and sketching and listen to music, and then,
still drawing decently after a crate of beer.
No, but just enjoying it, like how to say, training your brain that sketching is fun. And as I said, like the surrounding there was good, because a lot of people, since I was at the lucky time there, like there were a lot of people who were already going for that direction. I learned about that direction. There were people working with clay. I saw that for the first time. They were working with doing the casting and stuff, and that was super interesting. And at that time, VW came to the school and just giving some lessons. Like just it was Thomas Bachorski and Robert Lesnick, who's now at Mercedes, some exterior design chief of Mercedes. They were coming to our school and giving after-work lessons, and they were always popping up, like, I don't know, after work, so late, and we were just there, and they were giving us feedback, even though we were not yet kind of written in for car design, especially because it was for the higher guys, but already there we got in contact with them, and actually their feedback was like golden feedback, because it's like you need feedback to grow, like something, otherwise you just sit in your own dirt. And as I said, at that time internet was not as it is today. There was no Instagram. You could not, it was hard to find the stuff,
And Car Design News was just like a forum.
Car Design was the only forum,
and
everybody was just there. And there were like the 20 people on Car Design. Everybody, I think everybody of them is now a legend because they've been there already.
Right.
And and so we took the lessons and we got in contact with them. They brought clay modelers to the school after work. Some freelance guys. They supplied us with pens and tape and markers sometimes. And basically, we're just having a good time. Also, the drawing lesson was done by a VW guy, Nils Poschwatter. He came, like also render legend. Like what he can do with the pen is just like fuck. and that got me excited because I love this drawing part. And then when I got my first internship, and I'm an interior designer, and then coming to a clay interior model, which I could never believe that it's existing. I was really like, they get paid to do this, and it is just like, and working with the clay modelers, with the contractors, from all over the world. That was kind of cool, Everybody, super relaxed atmosphere. We came in a lot of Saturdays at that time. It was kind of work, but it was always fun there, being there, So
yeah, it's magic, isn't it?
It was it is at that point it was on is magic. Unfortunately, the clay days are kind of over. Nevertheless, it's okay. But at that time, I was really like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do for a living. And as I said, at that time, I fit to the team, I think. And so they tried to keep me as soon as possible, and it worked out.
And do you think clay is done completely?
No. But it depends where you let's say the time frame has changed. At the time when I started, cars were done, and let's say I think it was really a crazy time. To develop a car was 7 years.
Yes.
At that time, it was 2007, I think. Nowadays it's much faster, and of course, to be faster, you have to change the medium. But doing the clay work, I think it's how to say, it's necessary. You have to see the stuff, and it's a different kind of tool. Everybody uses it differently, in my point of view. Some people are using it to refine stuff. Some people are using it to find stuff. It's sometimes it's cool when you really don't know what you want, but you it just doesn't please you. And being a designer is finding a reason is trying to look for or trying to define what you don't like. I think that's what makes a good designer. If somebody can explain you why you don't like stuff, I think that's what is a skill of a good designer. Because saying something random I don't like it because I don't like it. Everybody can say that, and if we would argue like that at work all the time, we would never come to an end. Except your design chief, then you're allowed to say that, I guess. because that's what you stand for. But you try to keep it, let's say, as negotiable, or let's say as rational. I mean, yeah.
You have to dissect it somehow.
Somehow you have to dissect it and to explain it to a third guy, a third person, why you would not do it like that, or why you would do it like that instead of overdoing it this way. Yeah.
So are you one of those designers that go in with half an idea and just use the modeler to sketch out?
I mean, for me that's definitely a tool or a way. Okay. I like this approach. I mean, if I knew everything, I would not need the clay or the modeler, and it's. I mean, this is why we do the sketching, and the sketch anyway is just a sketch, and it's now, if it would be, let's say, production ready, or let's say soft in every corner, you don't need the process, and it's two things. I mean, the sketch is always like kind of the vision, and then the rest is kind of working it out, and also maybe finding out that the sketch doesn't work, or finding out that you like the sketch the one day and the next day, I mean, you don't like it. Yes. That's also happening. So. All the time, but personally, I like this kind of happy accidents. I mean, because I think that is something for me at least, which is making me a bit strong, like as a designer. That I kind of try to find them, these happy accidents,
right?
And that I can also, let's say, live with the fact that it doesn't work one time, but maybe it will work next time, definitely,
Okay, but what do you? When you've got an idea on paper, do you are obviously thinking to some degree about how you would go about executing this in 3D.
Yeah.
Like, and what would that consist of you drawing sections? Do you generally do a rough alias model, or do you just try and think about what it is that you want to achieve?
It depends on. It depends really on the timing, basically. If I have time, I would try to, let's say, do a proper, let's say, technical side view or something, or even just go quickly to data, but really rough, and then hand it over to a modeler and just let him play with it for, let's say, 1 or 2 days, and then let's see what comes out. And because that's what I mean. Like, sometimes he sees things that I didn't see, or he thinks of things I didn't think of, and it's part of the process to react then, then you see, for example, he was respecting some sections, which I forgot to think about. This will have this and that effect. Something is bigger than I expected. Sometimes you have to mill the model and you see it, and something that is totally out of scale. And then you have to readjust it. So and that's what I, as I said, call process.
Protesting. So it's very much a collaborative thing.
Definitely. Okay. And that's what I like. And I really appreciate if the modeler or the person is it may be clay or data is up for it, because that's it's teamwork.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. I think sometimes it's sometimes that process can be really productive.
Yeah.
But if you do have somebody that's maybe a bit inexperienced, I think you can go around in circles.
Yeah, but even then, I mean, okay, like it can happen that somebody's not experienced, but even then, that's what I like working when we work with juniors. They do stuff I would never do anymore, and they would present stuff I would never present anymore. And the funny bit is times are changing and techniques are changing, and sometimes their stuff, which you already, of course, have shown, let's say 5 years ago, works now. Or maybe the design chiefs like these directions, and this is where you can help as a senior, or as an older designer, where you can just or push them into a direction or try to make their idea work, which you maybe also had before, but you were pushed off. So
how did you end up focusing on interiors?
As I said, I was never that original car guy,
So not a petrol head.
Not the petrol head. I was raised then by petrol heads, and I was taken care of during my time at VW, and now I'm a half petrol head, I would say. But as I said, I always liked, in my head or in my mind, interior designers kind of are definitely different to exterior designers, just because. Yeah, I think a lot of interior designers are more like me in terms of their kind of They're strong. I mean, if that's a funny task or a funny question. If you ask a exterior designer who can do this awesome renderings, who can use Photoshop, who can use Alias and all these tools, ask him to do a logo for you. They fail. A lot of them fail. You know, they're just like, that's like, I cannot do this. Or ask them to make like a word look good, like with letters, and or
it's like they do this one thing.
They do this one thing, and then and I think interior designers are way more versatile. I think they're strong in graphic. I think they're more open to let's say new techniques, because since the petrol heads are in this petrol head world, they're kind of sometimes it's funny when somebody tells you, I have still my CDs in the car, and it's like, yeah, but you're working for a company which it's 2020, and it's just funny, you know. And I think the interior designers are way more open, and I think interior design kind of at these days, especially when the electric cars are coming, when this, let's say, the screen gets important in the car,
autonomy.
Yeah, autonomous driving, all this stuff is kind of much more, let's say, fresh, not fresh, but it's changing more. That's the word. It's changing more. Like because, for example, in electric cars you don't have a tunnel. You can now create benches, for example. You can put steering wheels maybe somewhere. You basically for example, in an ID3 car, it's like footprint-wise maybe ish like a Golf, but interior space is like a Passat, you know. Like and this is something. Where you can play more than with the exterior, because in exterior you still have the wheels, and you have still, let's say, the body side. You still have to have lights and a windshield. So there's not so much, let's say, change. And in the interior, like the screens are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, but the car stays the same. So you have to find solutions to work around it. And so I think it's much more in a movement. And you know, for me, it keeps me also a little bit more fresh. So, and then I really have to say I like that.
Yeah, I think I definitely don't want to say that exterior is formulaic, but there's certain things that definitely work proportion-wise, you know, things like dash to axle and your overhangs and your roof line and all that sort of stuff. And I think that there's, I was having this conversation with Tarek a few podcasts back, that he was saying that, you know, there's a certain amount that that you've got to play with, you know, and you can very quickly overcook it. And it seems that you know, interior design, especially now, is there's a lot more room for improvement, or not improvement, but innovation, a completely different take on it.
You can also when I don't have an idea, you just ask yourself, like, what would the person do inside, and from there on you come directly to ideas which are a bit different, you know, like if you but like nowadays people have cell phones, maybe they have coffee mugs and gadgets and stuff, and just the way you enter a car, maybe you sit the other way around. You can, at least in the beginning, play a lot more with these things, and which all affect the architecture and the interior. Especially the second thing is, when you look for car in exterior, it always is paint, still. Paint and glass. And in interior, the materials are much more changing, you know, like you can get like some sort of woven stuff, you can 3D knit stuff. So there's a lot, where you can just grab inspiration from a different, let's say, tooling, you know, like 3D print and all this stuff that this affects or writes down in design. And I think that's a cool playground.
Do you have a process for when you're starting out with a new interior? I mean, would you start with a console and IP first, or would you start with a seat, or there's no particular? I
think I start with the room, with the space.
With the space.
That's the approach.
So what would that be? Door cards and IP.
Like try to generate as much space as possible. Try to find lines which help the proportion as well. I mean, proportion as in exterior, as in interior, as everywhere, like proportion is king. So you try to find interesting ways to break up the proportion, because when you look, for example, at an interior dashboard, when you just see them naked, they're just big, you know, and when you just, and then you have to find a way to make them look not so big, like make them look wide and flying and stuff. So it helps to just consider the whole room and just not limit yourself to just different pieces, and it all has to talk to each other, and even you can work like in a sketch in the beginning or in some projects with the exterior, that you enlarge stuff to the outside, that it peeks through the glass or something like that. So I think there's, as I said, like there's a lot of playground. Yeah, no,
definitely. I mean, there's for me it was like the first project that I worked on was an interior project, and it was amazing seeing this environment just come out of nowhere, you know. Especially in the concept phase, you know, obviously production's a bit different. You're not necessarily going to be able to start something from scratch.
No.
Have you done both concept and production stuff?
Yes, I've done. I don't even know how many cars I did already, but I've done, my first car was like up, obviously the up. I did some show cars in between, which are like a lot of fun, I have to say. And the recent last 4 cars were also like, I've done one which was really crazy, but it's never seen the daylight, and I think we cannot talk about this. And then I did both. But I have to say, like, what is cool about doing a concept car is like you have basically the same process as a production car, but you have it way more condensed. And basically, in my point of view, since the timelines are so rough, you get way more freedom as a designer, or let's say power, because like sometimes you just have to make a decision. You cannot wait for a decision maker to make it. You have to decide for direction and just present it then as a finished thing, and that's kind of cool. Anyway, like also like seeing then the whole process after, let's say, data or clay, then back to real model, seeing that. And then seeing it when it's getting, let's say, when it, like the best is the last phase, when the model is going too hard, you know, like after all the presentations, and when you then go to the workshop and you see all the parts are lying around, the guys are sanding it and working like, and it's just like you take the stuff and you can feel it, and you just gets to life. And especially like when you have all the nice details with the alloy
and
pieces,
it's finished,
and I love to go then around and take some making of photos. That's for me always like, fuck, you know, it's in 2 weeks it's going to be in paint, and then that's actually the best moment when the car is just, when it gets assembled, like the last bit which gets put in, and then that's perfect. And that's always when we like bring in donuts and stuff for the guys, and and then have a mini celebration, and of course after that it gets directly to the board to get approved or not. But that's definitely cool, and that's what I like about the show car process, because you have let's say, a real car in the end of the project or process, where in the production world it's like you work hardcore on a car or a project, but then it just kind of disappears for 1 or 2 years, because it's going through feasibility stages, and the tooling has to be done and stuff, and little bits and bobs are still changed, and then you are confronted with the car at some car show, like with a finished car, and what happens is you really forget about the corners, you know, you forget about because you're so much in the new project that you really are, it's like seeing it for the first time then.
Okay.
And it's like, oh fuck, I remember that we had this problem there, and then this we had there, and this was cool, and this is cool. Actually, that's also funny, like a weird mind trick.
Well, dude, I think that's the thing. Like, there's obviously, as you say, it's really the show car process is really enjoyable, because you get to see everything go from, you know, some marks on a piece of paper to a final pieces that you can actually hold.
Yeah.
And there's something really satisfying in that.
Yeah.
The negative part to that is that obviously it's stressful.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, you're working up to the last minute, the car gets presented, and you haven't had enough distance from it to actually appreciate it. And like you're saying with the production process, sometimes you're disconnected from it, and you see something from a fresh perspective, and you can actually appreciate it for what it is and
Yeah.
not focus on those stupid corners that nobody fucking sees
Or the
anyway.
mistakes, like sometimes you really get itchy when you see some corners and like, hopefully nobody will see that. Hopefully, and it's just in your head, you know, nobody else is giving a shit about some stuff. But yeah, that's funny. Anyway, it's like or even in production, I have one corner in a car where I was like, why didn't we change that? You know, like, and it's funny because maybe at that moment you think like, I can't be asked to change this corner for the 70th time.
Yes.
But in the end, it would have made sense to change it that one time more, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's also funny. That happened to me also once. But yeah.
Where you face this realization of like I don't want to, but you've done it 69 times. You might as well do it the 70th.
Yeah, and to be honest, as stupid as it sounds, it makes sense to change it so that you are happy with it. Because, yeah, it will be produced like, and that's also something you have to, let's say, which is abstract when you design stuff. You know, it will be mass produced. Like if you make a round corner somewhere, it will be round. 5 million times on the street, you know, and
crazy,
and that is something you have to process, and this is what I like after my first project, as I said, like I was realizing that now it's mass produced, and I can show this to my mother, and that's kind of weird, you know, and funny, and then or you go abroad and you see your car is being driven there, you know, like and
by some stranger,
yeah, by some stranger, and then yeah, that's kind of funny.
That's mad, yeah. That is a very crazy thing, but with the production process. It obviously at times get tough. Like, how do you stay motivated during those times when you've changed the fucking door card 200 times and it's like you get sick of seeing that same shape over and over again.
Yeah, I was trained by my clay friends at that time. My clay modelers, I mean, they were doing that for me all the time, you know.
Okay.
Like I remember, like when I did my very first clay model, and my chief didn't like a section on it, and we just did the section for, I think 3 weeks. That was my first model, and I mean I was sick of it, but my clay modeler must have been really sick of it, and he was just taking it as like a legend.
Yes.
And I think that's the hard way to learn it. And as I said, like later when it's on the street, it makes sense, and it's kind of rewarding that you took the time to make it perfect, you know.
Yeah. Wow.
So I mean that's my mind trick for it, you know. Like you have to just see the big picture. I know it can get to work, and of course it can be a pain in the ass, but I think it's just like you have to do something else in your free time maybe then to compensate it. But yeah.
And speaking of free time, you are a graffiti enthusiast, is that?
Yeah, I like doing that. That's, I mean, as I said, like I was coming to car design or to design over sketching, and I started sketching by sketching graffiti. Not letters, but more characters and stuff. And once in a while, I just do it still. Like it's a nice breakup, you know.
Do you do like proper guerrilla shit, or like where you like break into buildings and stuff? He doesn't want to incriminate himself.
I mean, no, yes. No.
Okay.
No, but like once in a while, I appreciate when sometimes we go in Berlin. You have a lot of abandoned buildings.
Yes.
And I mean, it's semi-legal to go there, but it's just fucking cool, you know. It's like a video game when you go to these places, and it's just like trees out coming out of the buildings and stuff. And as I said, like it's kind of, I think it's illegal, but it's nobody really cares, and it's a nice Sunday afternoon or something. Like bringing a barbecue, bringing some guys, bringing music and a bit of beer.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. And actually, it doesn't matter how the image looks like in the end. Like, it's just like having a good time. That's what it is, basically. And just like, yeah, doctoring around a bit. And again, the same approach, so coming with a rough idea, seeing what happens, and being, let's say, ready to change it. Like, you know, like adopt it. I don't. It's just, and that's what I mean. Like this itching in your head. You see something, what you did, and it just doesn't stop like bothering. You know, just. Yeah, and it's a process. Like you have it on the paper, it works good on the paper. You have it on the wall, you have it in clay, you have it in data. It doesn't work like on the paper. So what can we change to do it? You know, like what can we change to make me stop not liking that. And yeah.
But so the in terms of, at least from the drawing point of view, the whole creative process for you is also, it's definitely a collaborative thing as well.
I mean,
like sketching in groups, for example. You don't necessarily like to sit in your bedroom on your own and hide everything.
No, and to be honest, like I think I'm best when I'm with people like-minded, you know, and I mean, I know people who don't work like that, and that's okay. But I like to work like that. I like to pick up ideas. Like, I mean, if you have an idea, if I have an idea, and we're thinking about the same thing, but when we draw it, it looks different, and then it's interesting to compare and say, "Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good take on this idea. Let's just adjust it." And as I said, like, you have it on paper, you put it to something, to the next medium, and then you have to adjust it. And then that happens with the modeler, that happens with the clay modeler, that happens with other designers would you work with, that you just, I mean, listen to them and see their point, and all you want is to have something you are proud of, or you can live with, and if a conversation or if an idea of another guy helps, let's do it.
But do you not think that that's an approach that you picked up through being in a larger studio for a long time?
Yes.
Because I think that that's something that's really difficult in the beginning, especially when you're at university, because there's a lot of this mindset of like, oh, well, I had this really good idea, but fucking George came along and he stole my idea, and now he's taking credit for it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I've been there, or everybody has been there. Or I know a lot of people who are thinking like that, but yeah, the ideas, like a lot of ideas have been drawn anyway, and then it's just like, can you ask the question again?
No, it was about being precious about your particular idea and somebody else coming along and stealing it.
Yeah, but in the design, it's anyway a teamwork approach, and as I said, if the idea is good and it's coming from another guy, like, first of all, credit him. And it's not about being an individual. Like, I have to say, like, it's never, or like, it never has been like that you have an idea or you have a sketch, and 5 years later, that sketch, as it is on the streets. That's kind of, it's never happening. Yeah. Like it's the sketch is an initial idea, and then you have to develop it and try to save it. And as I said, like, you have to, if it doesn't work in reality, you have to adjust it and yeah, be it with the help of somebody else, and being with like a nice comment from another guy, or being it that another guy executes your idea as well. I don't know.
Yes, yeah. I've heard. I mean, you know, it's a mature approach. I think but it's not necessarily something that will come naturally. I've heard that before as well. You know, a guy who's it was an exterior designer that I worked with many years ago, and he was having problems with this particular lower bumper area, and he saw something that somebody else had done, and he's like, I'm fucking taking that because it's going to make the product better, and everybody, at least in a studio, is in the same team, you know, and there's, it's a normal part of the process.
I think you have to get used to this. I mean, I think
it's not something that's easy in the beginning.
It is.
For sure.
It is not easy, and especially, or for example, when you don't get credited for it. Of course, it's not easy, but I don't know. I'm professional about this. Like as dry and gray it may sound, but I think if it makes the product better, and I mean the car world is so small. Like you can even say that it was your idea, and if you're good with the guy anyway, then I think it's okay.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
It's like anyway, like you don't want to come to work and just be all the time like. You know, like,
no,
and anyway, it's happening at some point that everybody has to show his ideas, and if the solution is a combination of 3 guys, as long as it's a good product, why not?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense.
That's why we get hired and paid for.
But Janko, would you say that, like, over the years you've had your fair amount of exposure anyway? I mean, would you credit that very much down to the leaders and managers that you've had above you?
I would say that.
Like, have you had quite a positive experience with regards?
Definitely,
to that?
I have a lot of positive experience with my chiefs. They give me a lot of trust. I really know that, and I appreciate that. But I have to say, I think I pay back. So there was never a reason to just doubt it, you know.
Right.
And I think I'm a bit lucky in that way, because of course you hear of friends and people that go away, or that they have different experience, especially with to direction above. But I have to say, like, it's okay, it's cool, like. And I know, of course, what they expect from me. Like as I said, like I'm getting professional. I'm getting old.
Yeah, well, but you take on. I mean, you take on a level of responsibility that you know that nobody has to ask you to do X, Y, and Z. You know what is required of you, and you make sure that you deliver on that every time.
I think so. I hope so.
Okay, all right. And what I wanted to ask was, like, do you ever see yourself as being like some big dick design director one day, or are you not really interested in that? You can also not answer that question if you want to. I mean, the thing is, I think there's some designers that have a strong enough insight at a certain point of their career to say, actually, you know what? There's a tipping point where you step away from the creativity, or very like almost.
I think generally, like you cannot, let's say, be the fresh designer for 20 years. Like, I think that's impossible. Like, it's some people, Karl Lagerfeld can do this, but I think you of course you have to at some point see that there's new young people coming with their own perspective, and I think you need to work with them. Like, I think that. But if you ask me if I want to be a design chief or a boss, like, yeah, why not? But I want to be me, and I want to stay me, and I don't want to, let's say, disguise or how to say,
put on a character.
Yes, to just as long as I can be myself, I wouldn't have a problem with taking a higher position. So
okay. But it's imperative to you that you stay true to yourself, and
I'd like to keep in touch with creative people. I don't want to be, let's say, there's also design chiefs who are more or less just managing, you know, they are not any more designers. And that's what I really don't want to do. Like, just taking care of management stuff.
Yeah.
And that's happening a lot. And I don't think necessarily that if you're a good creative, that you are a good manager as well. I mean,
yeah, they're two different skill sets, and sometimes
it's different. Exactly,
yeah,
it's different. And and I, looking at myself, stop.
No, but I think sometimes, you know, I've seen a couple of examples. It's not always a common thing, but there are certain design chiefs that are at a really nice balance between, you know, they've got a level of management, but they're still very hands-on in the creative process. Yeah. And then there are the guys that are like, I want to fucking go to the top, and I want to be, you know, I want to be the person that makes all the decisions. And those are two different things. And I think that if you're not in such a hurry to do those things, look, those jobs are few and far between. But I also think that they're not always everything that they're cracked up to be. And I think that if you've worked so hard to pursue a creative endeavor and you're lucky enough to earn your living as doing something that you love, then I think, like, why, like, be in such a hurry to get away from that?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Like it's you want to. I want to stay kind of in touch with creative stuff. I just want to have a pen in my hand for once in a while. I want to come up with ideas and put them into the water and see what comes back to me. So I like that, and running around from one meeting to another with a folder in my hand, I don't know. I don't see myself like that.
Das geht nicht.
Das geht nicht.
If you were, like, what advice would you give a kid starting out today in the current sea of beautiful Photoshop renders everywhere? How do you stand out?
When I go to, sometimes I go to schools and we do some work with them, and what I see sometimes when everybody just draws the same thing, and it's just like just sometimes I pick, I just don't do that, just do something else. Like, if everybody uses red to paint an image, just use blue. just try it the other take, you know, because you have to stand out, as you say. Like, and if everybody is, I mean, Photoshop is nice, but yeah, it's always about being also. Yeah, I think everybody in this world like can have a portfolio, like a nice portfolio, but at some point you will meet the person. You will have to work with them, and I think, and especially in car design industry, the world is really small. So if you know 3 guys, they know, everybody knows everybody around 3 corners. So, and I think really being a nice person is already something which is crucial as your skill. Like because like there's a lot of stress in this job. There's a lot of thing going around, and if there's, let's say, if there's 7 Photoshop renderings by 7 guys, but there's an 8th one which looks maybe similar or a little bit less, but he's a nice guy, I'd rather work with him, to be honest. Like, and that's what I also say to the guys. Like the people talk about you when you leave. They talk about you and they keep you in, how to say, they in memory, and try to be a nice person. That's I think that's anyway a good advice.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, Janko, on that perfect bombshell, we'll end it there. Thank you very much, dude. That was cool. Mega.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao, dude. Ciao. Yeah, that was awesome.